The mimer that we're beginning tonight is a mimer from Yud Tes Kislev, the 19th of Kislev, Tovshin Lamed Aleph, which in English is 1970, late 1970.
What?
Yud Tes Kislev, Tovshin Lamed Aleph. This is the mimer of Poda V'Sholim, which the Rebbe said Yud Tes Kislev. That year, Yud Tes Kislev was close to Shabbos. I think it was actually Thursday. So there was a few Fabrengens in a series of Fabrengens right after Yud Tes Kislev. The mimer is based on a mimer of the, which actually the Rebbe is going to introduce it on page 357. The Yuvan Zebehegdem. A mimer that the Alter Rebbe said in the year Tovkuf Samaches, which is the year 5568. It is 1808. 1808. And the Rebbe, many times, in order to give an understanding in a certain inyan, a certain verse, a certain inyan in Chazal, so the Rebbe would begin with questions, and then the Rebbe would just take a mimer randomly from one of the previous Rebbes, and then explain the inyan that the Rebbe was dealing with. So this mimer is Poda V'Sholem Nafshi Mikrovli Kivrabim Ho Yimodi, that you have redeemed me in peace, Mikrovli from engagement in war and battle, because many were with me. So the Rebbe says, it is known what it says, what the Alter Rebbe wrote. The Alter Rebbe, who was redeemed from prison in 1898, so he was in 1798. So he says that the Alter Rebbe said to the Goan HaChosid, Rabbi Yitzchak Baditchev, that he wrote to him, to his Mechuten, when I was in prison and I read the verse, Pada B'Sholem Nafshi, Yotzasi B'Sholem Hashem Sholim, Me'avaya Sholim. So I was redeemed in peace from the Eibishter, who his name is Sholem, is peace. So therefore, this is why Chassidim compiled and nigging a song on the words Pada B'Sholem, and this is why the Rabbeim would begin many of the Hasidic discourses on Yud Tes Kislev begin with the pasuk Pada V'Sholem, since this is the verse by which the Alter Rebbe went out, was released from prison, was given the news that he's free from prison, left prison because while he was reciting in Psalms chapter 55, which is the verse Pada V'Sholem Nafshi. From this we understand that the inyan of the peace which is mentioned in Pediyah, in the redemption of inyan Nikri, is very vital. In other words, it wasn't just Pada Nafshi, he redeemed my nefesh. But Pada V'Sholem means in peace. Oh, this is a special point which is stressed. Therefore the Alter Rebbe mentions in his letter that he writes, as quoted earlier, to the Baditchev, that he writes, Pada V'Sholem, that first of all he says, I said the verse Pada V'Sholem. Then he says, Yotzasi B'Sholem, I was released in peace. And then it says, Me'havaya Sholem, from Hashem, whose name is Sholem. Which according to Halacha, the Gemara says on Shabbos, that according to Halacha, a person is not permitted to say the word Sholem in a lavatory, in a bathroom, because it is the Eibishter's name.
Or a mikveh.
Or a mikveh, anywhere which is not respectful.
I heard that it wasn't clean where he was staying, and like it was very dirty.
The Alter Rebbe?
Yeah, he had to stand up.
The Frierdiker Rebbe was more in the mud and rodents and everything. The Alter Rebbe was, it doesn't really describe all these pratim. It's just that he was pashut, he was in a room in a cell for 53 days. And this is also understood from Igeres HaKedesh, which is the fourth part of Tanya. That Alter Rebbe writes in the second chapter, that he wrote it after he came out from Peterburg, after he arrived back from Petersburg, and he wrote it to the Klolis Anash, to the Anash T'chsidim. What did he write? That the end and the signing off of the conclusion of the letter is there should be inyan of Sholem. Not even to whistle on their enemies. In other words, there should be an inyan of Sholem and should keep a positive relationship, a peaceful relationship. I wouldn't say positive, peaceful relationship. Not to argue with them and not to anything. although they placed the Alter Rebbe in prison. To the extent that they should conduct themselves according to conduct themselves with their brethren in a peaceful way, in order that their brethren, the other side, should reciprocate also in a peaceful way. Which actually never happened, that second part. That it's also obvious from many Hasidic discourses. On this pasuk, on this verse, the Yud Tes Kislev, and especially in the Hasidic discourses of Yud Tes Kislev, that what is the inyan and the chiddush of this redemption? That the b'diya is b'sholim, which means that this is a very important factor, that he was released in peace. We need to understand the main priority is that he's being released. Even either if it speaks by relating, it relates to David, King David, which he was the one that said this chapter in Psalms 55, and also to David as Mashiach, and also relating to the Alter Rebbe, who is the celebrity and the one that was redeemed. The Ikar Ha'inyan is that he went out from incarceration, from being imprisoned, to freedom. It's interesting to note that there's another, in an earlier Maimer, years earlier, when the Rebbe edited a Maimer, so it said over there also, the Baal HaSimcha Bagula, the one that is the celebrity of the joyous event, and the Geula, the redemption. So the Rebbe changed the sequence. The Rebbe wrote first Geula and then Simcha, which makes sense, because Geula first is in your redemption. The redemption brought the joy. So the Rebbe wrote Bala Geula Vasimcha. The Rebbe changed around the words. This Maimer is not edited, and the way the Rebbe said Bala Simcha Bagula, which in a prat also Bala Simcha Bagula means the other way, starting from the union of the joyous event. Going back, why is there a joy? Because of the Gula. But at hand, what do we have? We have the inyan of Simcha. It's Yud Tes Kislev, it's a joyous event. So the question is, what is this stress that it has to be dafka? Why is this such a priority, the inyan of peace? That it has to be dafka b'sholim in peace. And also we need to understand the hemshech, the continuation of Pada v'sholem nafshi. In other words, what is the continuation of the verse? Who can nemar because of mikrovli kiverab mo'imodi, that he was redeemed in peace from a war, from a war being waged. Kiverab mo'imodi because many were with me. Umekiv meshabdi yehi mikrov hainu milchama. Since the P'diyah, the redemption is from Krov, which means the union of waging war, and also the fact that there are rabbim, there are many, multiples. But it happened the opposite, was actually that the rabbim was in Modi with David HaMelech. In other words, they sided with him against Avshalom. From this we understand that the P'diyah, the redemption, needed to be in a way of waging war. Which means that there was potential and chance that it would have been B'Mechama.
War between who?
David mit Avshalom. What is the hechrech? What is the necessity that we need dafke? The redemption should be in peace, not in the war being waged. So now the Rebbe continues on the next page. What is the nikudas inyan? What's the point in this whole inyan is the point of this whole inyan is the maimer of the Mittel Rebbe, who is the